guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope all of you are doing well and staying safe and healthy, and I hope that your friends and family are too, and just know that my thoughts and prayers are with all of you. And welcome back to my channel for another video. So today's video is going to be my eyeshadow palette collection. I do have several single eyeshadows, but I'm not really going to be addressing them in this video. I will talk about the ones that I do have in this palette though real quick, and this palette is the Kathleen Lights palette from ColourPop, or it's just like a magnetic palette. So I have 4 single eyeshadows down here from ColourPop. This is Steal a Kitten, and then these 4 in this corner are from Makeup Geek. Now we are going to dive into my palettes. I do have 12 eyeshadow palettes, so I feel like this is definitely a little bit more realistic. I know a lot of people on YouTube have a lot more than I do, but honestly, I don't think I could ever use the amount of eyeshadows that I currently have, so I can't really justify getting more, although some come in BoxyCharms, which like the ones that I've gotten this year, I've come in BoxyCharms, and there are some eyeshadow palettes that I just really want to get, so I probably will, although I don't need them, honestly. So I'm just gonna kind of just talk through the ones that I have. I think I'm not gonna put them in any sort of order or anything. I'm just gonna share a little bit about them and just grab what's on top. So the first one right here is this Baked Browns eyeshadow palette from Dose of Colors. This came in a BoxyCharm. It's just this neutral matte palette. These shadows are very pretty, but they are super dusty. I did a little get ready with me when I was traveling for work back in October with these shades, and I think it's a great palette to travel with because there's just a variety of neutral shades in here, but like I said, they are really like dusty and powdery, and so they kick up a lot. I have not rolled any of these into my eyeshadow project pan. I have a feeling though if I did, it wouldn't be too hard to hit pan on them just because of how like dusty they are. But it is a good, just very neutral, small palette for travel. The next palette is my Urban Decay Naked palette. This is obviously a classic. I have loved this palette for a really long time. When I first started watching YouTube, this was like the one palette, I think everyone can probably say that was like always talked about. And so it's just such a staple and classic like in my collection. I hit pan on Sidecar in one of my project pans this year, and then I am currently working on Dark Horse, and it's just cool to actually like use this more than I have. I feel like considering how much I have loved this palette, you can't really see the love on here that much other than really in like Half Baked, and I had a pretty good dip going in Sidecar. So it's a great palette. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. It's just a classic overall. Next is my Too Faced Everything Nice palette. I don't love this one as much, to be honest. I have thought many times about decluttering it, and then I'm like, ugh, I feel like that's such a waste. There's so much product in here. These face products, there's 2 blushes, a highlighter, and the Chocolate Soleil bronzer, which is a great bronzer. I don't use that at all. I never go use those, which I really should. And then there's so many eyeshadows, and they're stunning colors, but then I just don't think they work as well as they probably should. I don't know if this is because it was a holiday palette, and sometimes I've heard that holiday palettes aren't made in the same quality that other palettes are. I'm not really sure. I have hit pan on Dream On in my Pan Those Eyeshadows project pan, and I do really love this for setting down my primer. And I love this Mauvelous color. I think this shade is gorgeous. But honestly, I haven't experimented enough with this. But when I have used it, I feel like the color payoff really isn't there. So not my favorite, but I have not had it in me to declutter it just because there's so much product in here, and I feel like I could get more use out of it. The next eyeshadow palette also came from BoxyCharm. It is the Storybooks Cosmetics Fairy Tales palette. This is the Little Red Riding Hood one. And this is another one that I have some pan in from my Pan Those Eyeshadows project pan. I hit pan on Woods earlier this year. And when I first got this, like wasn't that impressed with this palette, but I really do love the shades. I really liked Woods. It was a great like transition shade. Thought it was really nice. I just honestly hate the packaging. I don't like how thick this palette is. It just seems like a big waste of space. For 6 shades, I mean, this would have been a great palette to travel with, and honestly, it isn't because it just takes up so much room. So not in love with that, but I do really like the shades that are in here. Probably my most loved palette is this one, and this is my Lorac Pro palette. You will be able to see that I have pan on 3 shades in here, and these shades the pan I hit on them was before I ever started panning. I would love to roll a couple more of these shades into my Pan Those Eyeshadows project pan and then potentially do a Pan That palette in the future, but so far I have not selected any of these. This is a great palette though, so versatile, great for traveling because of how thin it is, but honestly it's just awesome overall. I have done 1001 looks with this. There's so many colors, so much variety, a great black, and beautiful, beautiful shimmer shades. I have loved this palette for a really long time, and I just think it's great quality. Next is my ABH Jackie Aina palette. This is my only ABH palette, and I love it. I think the shades that Jackie picked out for this are absolutely stunning. I hit pan on Pinker during my Pan Those Eyeshadows project pan, but really just across the board, this palette is absolutely beautiful. I have not had a chance to use it as much as I've wanted to, just because I've been really focused on the shadows that have been in my project pans. But honestly, this is just such a beautiful color palette. The pigment's there, the shimmer's there, like it's stunning. So I'm a big fan of this palette, and I'm really excited to use it more than I have, to be honest. This is the Celestial Thunder palette by Dominique Cosmetics. This was also in a BoxyCharm, and to be honest, I really haven't used this very much, probably only like 2 or 3 times, and certainly not all the shades. It is a really cool palette, but I can't speak to it that much just because I haven't spent that much time with it. And I'm gonna talk about 2 more palettes that I basically have the same sentiment about. I just haven't really dug into them because they came in BoxyCharms, and I have been very focused on the eyeshadows that I've been panning, and so I haven't really just spent much time at all with any of these. I've swatched them, but that's about it. So the other 2 that kind of fall into that category is this Living Color palette, which I just got last month. I am not familiar with this at all. I've swatched some colors, but I have not worn any of these on my eyes, so I can't really talk to that one. And then I also received this Ace Beauty Vintage Dawn palette in a BoxyCharm, and again, I've done some swatches, but I haven't worn any of these on my eyes at all. Until I roll one into a project pan, I don't know if I would really dig into any of these. This palette doesn't speak to me that much, so yeah, we'll see with these. I do really like this palette. I'm like so-so about these 2, so I guess we'll see when one of those colors gets rolled in to my Pan Those Eyeshadows. And then the last 3 are 3 of my absolute favorites. The first is my Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette. I have used this palette quite a bit over the years since I've gotten it, and 2 shades right now in Light and Jax are currently in my Pan Those Eyeshadows project pan. I have taken this with me on so many trips. I've taken it to bachelorette parties and done people's makeup with it because there's just so many colors and you can really create a lot of looks with it. And I think this palette is so versatile. It's really, really stunning, and I'm a big, big fan of this one just because it's just so easy, and I love it, honestly. And then before that palette came out, Jaclyn Hill did a like Morphe favorites palette with Morphe. I used to wear this palette all the time. It kind of was like how I wear this one. And this year, my project pan, I hit pan on this 4th shade right here, and I am now working on this coral shade. I used to always wear like these purples down here. Loved creating looks with those purple shades, and I still do. I really like purple pink looks. I think some of those are some of the prettiest eyeshadow looks. Overall, I'm a big fan of this palette. I've worn it quite a bit over the years. And then a new favorite of mine is my Tati Beauty Volume 1 palette. One of my absolute favorites. I just think it's so stunning. Right now I am panning Aura in metallic, and I just think the colors in here are really, really pretty. I love the glitters. They are not included in my Pan Those Eyeshadows project pan because there's no way that I could wear glitter on a regular basis, but I have worn them for special occasions, and I think they're really, really pretty. And I just think Tati did a fabulous job with this palette. I love the packaging, I love the huge mirror, I love the quality of the eyeshadows. I am just a big fan, and I'm very excited for volume 2 whenever she decides to release that. And those are all my eyeshadow palettes. So as you can see, I have some really loved eyeshadow palettes and some that I have not really touched at all, which is honestly unfortunate, but when you're getting like a palette a month through BoxyCharm, it makes it a little bit hard. And honestly, I wish I didn't get eyeshadow palettes through BoxyCharm because the ones I've gotten I don't really love that much, and I'd rather go out and pick ones and purchase ones that I really, really like. And potentially keep my collection a little bit more minimal. I feel like the sweet spot for me might be less than this. I don't know. We'll see, but there are some palettes that are certainly on my radar to eventually pick up. I hope that was interesting for all of you who are just curious to see what are the potential eyeshadows that could be pulled into my Pan Those Eyeshadows project pan. And just to see, like, for me, like, what a realistic collection of eyeshadow palettes look like. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will talk to you guys in my next one. Bye.